Yes.
Cleision, diolch o'r galon i'r rai ohonych chi sydd wedi teithio mor bell i fod yma gyda ni heddiw. O Wrexham, o Aberystwyth, o Sir Benfro ac o'r Cymoedd. Dwi'n ddiolchgar iawn i chi gyd am gymryd amser i ddod yma i ymuno'n ymgyrch i gadw Cymru yn ddi-ffrac. Rydym wedi ymgasglu yma heddiw mwyn hala neges glir iawn.
Diolch, Des.
Neges i Cyd Cymru, neges i'r cwmnïau ffracio a neges i Lywodraeth Cymru. Dim ffracio yng Nghymru. Earlier this year, I was in Barton Moss, Manchester, with colleagues from the Friends of the Earth family across Britain and Ireland. Now that's a community with a drilling rig already hard at it, fracking the works. I was staggered by the extent of the drilling pad, the height of the drilling apparatus and the enormity of the systems to deal with the wastewater. I felt jarred by the huge police presence, by the security fences topped with razor wire and the alien nature of the frackers in otherwise tranquil green farmland. But what really bowled me over was the quiet determination of the people to turn up to protest against fracking in their community, day after day, week after week, month after month, right through the bitter winter. Most were local people genuinely concerned about this assault on their community. Peaceful, good-humoured, but participating because it was the right thing to do. And Cyfeillion, participating in the campaign against fracking is the right thing to do. And it's not just because fracking risks environmental damage, health impacts and water contamination, although all of these risks are risks our communities will face. It's not just because fracking is sucking investment from the genuine solutions we so desperately need, massive investment in energy efficiency and 100% renewable energy. And it's not only because we have real concerns, genuine concerns about what fracking might mean for the 100,000 people in Wales who are employed in the tourism, renewable and agricultural sectors. This campaign is truly just because it's fighting for the rights of people, not just in our country, but in every country. Not just the people here right now, but for people yet unborn. And that's because fracking is totally, completely incompatible with our obligations on climate change. Experts from the Tyndall Centre told us this in 2011. Even the Department of Energy and Climate Change conceded it last year, and I quote, "If a country brings any additional fossil fuel reserve into production, this would increase cumulative emissions in the long run, and this increase would work against global efforts on climate change." So world-renowned experts are telling us that fracking can't be undertaken at the same time as tackling climate change. The UK government's own advisors on energy and climate change are telling us that fracking will cause climate change. Every political party leader in the UK and in Wales acknowledges that climate change is one of the biggest and most urgent problems facing humanity. So how about it, Welsh Government? How about a moratorium on fracking in Wales? One final point on powers. The Welsh Government keeps telling us that this is a matter for Westminster. Well, Cyfeillion, I have here an extract from the Government of Wales Act 2006 that sets out very clearly what the powers are that are devolved to the National Assembly for Wales. Under planning, we have town and country planning, including listed buildings, conservation areas, hazardous substances, caravan sites, spatial planning, and mineral workings. So thank you, Welsh Government, but frankly I'm sick of hearing the Welsh Government complain that it doesn't have the powers, because the powers are here, granted by a Labour Westminster Government back in 2006. So Cyfeillion, we say to the Welsh Government that time has come for action. Action to protect our global environment from climate change. Action to protect our Welsh environment from the impacts of fracking. Action to stand up for our beleaguered communities. Cyfeillion, a moratorium on fracking in Wales. I'd like now to introduce our next speaker, who's the Assembly Member for Pontypridd, Mick Antoniw.
Firstly, it's good to see so many people here. Someone asked me right at the beginning that do demonstrations like this make a difference? Well, what they do is make people start thinking, and there is a big political debate out there that we do still have to win, that we mustn't delude ourselves that we have won that debate yet. The argument over fracking is around a number of areas. There is the argument that's being put that says, well, first of all, it will create cheap energy. There's the argument being said, well, of course, it will create jobs. There is an argument that it is a form of Scottish oil, something that will fund Wales towards independence. There is another argument that it effectively will produce community subsidies. All those things, I think, are actually substantiated if we look at the actual practice of what's happening. So I'm going to set out a position as to why I'm against fracking. 3 years ago, I knew very little about it until we had an energy inquiry on the Environment Committee here. And what was very clear was that companies that are interested in fracking could not give any clear indication or evidence as to the safety, as to the impact of the cocktail of chemicals they were involved in. And as far as I can see at the moment, the boat is still out. There is still no convincing evidence in terms of the safety, and that must be a fundamental point. But that in itself isn't sufficient. There's also the argument about the community impact, and many of our communities and many of my constituency, we've been through coal, we've been through coke, and we don't want to go through, now that some of the valleys are beginning to green again, we don't want to go back to where we came from before. And finally, the most important argument, which for me is this, is at the end of the day, it is a fossil fuel. It is a fossil fuel, and I think that dependence on yet another fossil fuel is yet another distraction, firstly from really focusing on the development of renewable energy, which is the policy of the Welsh Government and the Welsh Assembly, and it is also a con-trick, because there are corporate interests that are lined up to make enormous amounts of money out of fracking, and I don't believe there is, certainly outside a publicly owned sector, there is no realistic likelihood that communities would benefit in any way. Even if I could be satisfied on safety, even if I could be satisfied on community impact, the fact of the matter is we cannot afford to go down a road of yet becoming dependent on yet another fossil fuel. And that is the fundamental reason why there has to be a moratorium. One consequence of the Scottish referendum is that we are now looking at a sea change to the structure of the United Kingdom Constitution. That is going to be absolutely fundamental. I don't think people yet realise how significant it's going to be. And one aspect of that has got to be is that what is under the ground should actually be devolved. It should become a matter for Welsh Government. So the whole issue of being able to licence in the first place should be something that comes here, because it is here that the debate should take place. And I have to say this across all parties and even across communities. There is still confusion, there is still uncertainty about all these issues on safety, community interest, cheap energy and so on. And there is an important political debate about our environmental future that we have to win. And if we don't win that, we will go down the road of becoming dependent on yet another fossil fuel. So that's why one, it needs to be devolved to Wales, but secondly, we need to have the debate within Wales, because we must convince not only our communities, but all our representatives and the whole of Wales really that this is not the direction that Wales wishes to take. Thank you.
Dafydd Wigley, former MP for Carnarvon, former Assembly Member for Carnarvon, and former leader of Plaid Cymru to have some words.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Dwi am ddweud ychydig yn Gymraeg, ychydig yn Saesneg. I'll be speaking a few words in Welsh and then a few words in English. Gyntaf oll, dwi eisiau dweud mod i'n uniaethu 100% efo'r ymgylch i rwystro unrhyw ffracio, unrhyw le yng Nghymru, gan obeithio bydd yr hyn sy'n digwydd yng Nghymru yn esiampl i bobl eraill o gwmpas y byd. Dwi'n gwrthwynebu ffracio am resymau dyn ni wedi clywed i ryw raddau'n barod, sef yn gyntaf am resymau iechyd a diogelwch, beth sy'n am ddigwydd efo'r dŵr, beth sy'n digwydd i hagru yn cymunedau ni, yn ail am resymau hawliau cymunedau a hawliau unigolion, ac yn drydydd o safbwynt cyfansoddiadol. Mae yma ar dir Cymru, gan bobl Cymru, y dylai dyfodol ystyriaethau fel hyn fod yn cael ei penderfynu. Dechreuais i yn fy ngweledigaeth i gael Senedd go iawn i Gymru, ddeddfu ar ran bobl Cymru, pan oeddwn ni'n ifanc, ac oedd Cymru'n cael ei heibio pryd hynny ar gyfer yn adnoddau dŵr ni, efo tryweryn dan sylw yn arbennig. Oedd y ffaith fod gennym ni'r Senedd yn hunan i fod i sicrhau fod gennym ni'r hawliau i rwystro hynny rhag ddigwydd byth eto. A mae'r un peth yn wir i beth am y ffracio yn y cwestiwn. So, my friends, for 3 reasons, I am totally opposed to the fracking proposals that unfortunately are raising their heads in so many communities in Wales. First of all, there is the question of the safety. The question of what will happen to our water supplies, the environmental question, and the impact that it will have on communities in that way. Secondly, there is the question of rights. The rights of people and families, the rights of communities, not to be written over roughshod in order to deliver massive profits for corporations that will be here today and gone tomorrow. We've seen in Wales how this can happen. With the exploitation of mineral rights in Wales, in the coal industry in the valleys of the south and in the Wrexham area, in the slate quarrying areas of my part of Wales, we've seen how people can be taking the profit, and then when there's no profit left, no money left, other people have to pick up the bills. We've seen that, and that must not happen in the context that we're discussing here today. But as I said in Welsh, the third reason, the constitutional question. And as has been touched on a moment ago, when you introduced us at the start of the meeting, there is this question as to whether we have the powers here. Well, if there's any doubt about it, we've got to make damn sure that the powers are here and are used in the way we want them used. A moment ago some of the political changes that are going through in the wake of the referendum in Scotland, and we'll be facing those on Monday at Westminster when a Wales bill is going through. And I know that I certainly, and there'll be colleagues, I hope from all parties, will be looking to strengthen that bill to make sure that here in Wales, here in Cardiff, we have a National Assembly that is the Parliament of our people, with a fundamental right to make all legislative decisions on matters that are relating to the well-being of Wales, to our communities, and indeed to the safety and health of our people, and the environmental future that is so important to all of us. It's not enough just to pay lip service to the environmental dimension. It has to be fought whenever there is an opportunity, and this is a massive opportunity. It's arising in our communities, and we should be working across party bounds to make sure that the powers are there and that the powers are used to defend the well-being of Wales and its people, its communities, and to stand against the powers of greed that are only too ready once again to trample all over us. So more strength at the elbow of everyone who is campaigning on this important issue. Diolch yn fawr.
Dafydd, and here now is the Assembly Member of South West Wales, Bethan Jenkins.
Cari dilyn Dafydd Wigley. Fi before I say anything else, I have to acknowledge all of the hard work that Nifo Talbot's campaigners have done recently, stopping the test drilling in Pontypridd in our area. Without the hard work of you as campaigners, I don't believe we would be standing here today with that victory. And I think that's a victory for all of the other potential test drilling applications that will be made. So I want everybody to say well done to the campaigners. Wrth gwrs yn y cynulliad, fel mae Dafydd Wigley wedi dweud, yn glir iawn yn erbyn ffracio. Mae Llyr Hughes Griffith sydd yn siarad ar materion cynllunio yn y cynulliad wedi gofyn am y moratorium hynny I ddigwydd yng Nghymru. As I've said, and as Dafydd Wigley has said eloquently earlier, Plaid Cymru do oppose fracking, and we have, via Llyr Hughes Griffith, called for a moratorium on fracking in the National Assembly for Wales. Sadly, up until now, it has fallen on deaf ears, but I'm pleased that we do have a Labour member here that are on the side of campaigners so that we can have that cross-party voice. We can make sure that the First Minister is made to listen to you as the people of Wales. I'm also a firm anti-open cast mining campaigner. These are the areas of Wales where we've been destroyed already. We do not want more destruction in our communities. They take advantage of us because they think that we will lie down and that we will take it. Well, we won't lie down and take it. And sustainability has to be at the heart of our policies because we cannot carry on creating energy in this way. The tidal lagoon, for example, is being developed in Swansea, in the area where I live. Yes, let's look at those alternatives. Let's champion those alternatives. See how the community really can benefit. Because do communities benefit from the mire of open cast mining with big holes outside their windows full of water because open cast miners, mining companies move the money to other countries so that they can line their pockets? Does the community see the benefit of that? No. The same will happen with fracking if we allow for it to happen, as it has happened in other countries. We will not see the community benefit. We will see the destruction of our communities. And I, for one, as an elected, and for however long I'm elected, will not allow this to go on without protest. Dwi'n credu bod yn bwysig iawn bod ni gyd yn ymgyrchu gyda'n gilydd, bod ni gyd yn gryf gyda'n gilydd. Pwer y ffaith bod Cymru yn wlad democrataidd, bod gyda ni'r Senedd yma heddiw, yn dangos bod ni'n gallu cydweithredu, sicrhau nad yw hyn yn digwydd. We need to make sure that we have all of the powers that we can possibly get to make sure that we decide upon our future, that we have those powers within our control, and that Westminster doesn't decide for us what is good for Wales. Diolch yn fawr a phob lwc.
Bethan. I'd like to call William Powell, the Assembly Member for Mid and West Wales, to come and say a few words as well. Diolch, Beth.
What is our cyfeillion? Diolch Gareth, Haf, our team. Technical problem.
Press it, Bill.
Oh. Sabotage, Bethan. I know you're up to. Anyway, how do I follow that? Dafydd Wigley, Bethan Jenkins, Mick Antoniw having the courage to speak where his own government is currently somewhat behind the curve. It always happens to the Liberal Democrats. Anyway, I'm here and I'm really pleased to see banners and voices raised from across the whole of Wales on this really important issue. We've got Torfaen, we've got Brecon, we've got people that I saw when I was at Ystrad Mynach on a campaign against open cast some months ago. I see people from Pembrokeshire and from Aberystwyth brought together by this important cause. And just like Mick, I knew very little about fracking 3 years ago, and I, in the last 3 years, have sat on the Environment Sustainability Committee, and I've learnt some very major lessons there. This is a risk that we cannot take. We cannot take it for our community. And one of my first act as environment spokesman for the Liberal Democrats was to support a call for a moratorium on fracking in our 2011 conference in Wrexham, and that has further been strengthened by party policy that was developed just last year. And it's really important that we act on a cross-party basis to build a consensus around these issues, because I've heard the same flaky evidence before our committee from those that would take forward these fracking initiatives across Wales, and I tell you, friends, I am not convinced. Many of the arguments have been rehearsed here this morning, both the environmental arguments and the constitutional arguments, that we need to definitely to have the powers to determine the future and protect the landscape of our country. And I back that, and I will be there to support that. But in the meantime, there is a practical step that many people are calling for, and that is that there should be Welsh-specific technical advice on planning, because that will support our local authorities across Wales when they are confronted with applications, and we need that. And I must say, John Griffiths and Alan Davis failed to deliver that, and Carl Sargent, not a natural fence sitter, I would suggest. We need to make sure that Carl Sargent, now our new Natural Resources Minister, hears this message loud and clear. So on the one hand, we need to develop strong and robust Welsh-specific technical advice to support our planning authorities in resisting these applications. And secondly, we need to build the case, and it's a well-rehearsed and well-founded case, for a moratorium against fracking for all the reasons that have been outlined and which I endorse. So, diolch yn fawr iawn am ddod y bore yma. Thank you very much for coming this morning and coming here in such numbers on such a fantastic day. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to lend my support, and I'll be there to support you and the Welsh environment in the future. Diolch yn fawr.